This video demonstrates the use of the shroud grinder for grinding the shrouds in the PT6 engine. Inside the gas generator case, we've put some rubber blocks in here, and these rubber blocks are designed so that it will load the vane assembly forward into the position where it would be loaded during operation. We've mounted the shroud grinder in the same place where the turbine disc would be spinning. So we're running on number 2 bearing right in here, and it's just an adapter that we use the same sort of a bolt that we use to hold the turbine disc in place, and then a couple of nuts that will hold our shroud grinder in place. It's an air grinder, and so we're going to have to hook up some air power to it. The wheel is going to pass across the shroud. It's going to be spinning, and we have to move it in while it's spinning and back out. One of the things you have to be aware of is you have to be turning this clockwise during this process, and as you're turning it, you cannot stop the grinder. At any point you cannot stop the grinder because it will grind a spot in your shroud segment. It will heat up, and as it cools you'll end up with a divot there and extra clearance on your turbine blades. We want to avoid that, so we keep turning this clockwise while we're making our adjustments. The adjustments are made with this adjusting handle here. So while I'm turning it this direction, I'm going to want to turn in with my adjustment, and it moves the grinding wheel a little farther in. After at least 2 times around, I'm going to turn it again. I go another 2 times around, and then I turn it again. By doing that, I'm moving the grinding wheel all the way in. Once we're all the way in and the marks inside line up to show me that I've completed my pass all the way in, I don't want to go any farther than that. If I do, if I grind farther than my marking, what happens is the grinding wheel will actually contact the vane assembly, which creates damage, and then the vane assembly would have to be replaced. So in the same manner, as I'm done going all the way in, I have to grind all the way out. So as I'm turning again clockwise, I now have to turn this handle clockwise as well, and by doing that, going around twice, I'm going to grab this handle, turn it again, and it's bringing that grinding wheel all the way out until my markings inside here that I've already made, when those markings line up, then I have brought the grinding wheel all the way back. Another caution or a note here is if you need to spot grind, if you've got a really high spot somewheres in here, then you can just rock this back and forth and spot grind, but you never want to stop and have the wheel spinning in one position for any length of time. Why do we grind the shrouds? Anytime we've replaced them, we always put in a shroud segment that's a little tighter clearance than we want on the tips of the turbine blades, and we grind it out to the right size using our number 2 bearing as a guide, so it becomes a perfect circle, and the turbine disc, when it's installed in there, will fit properly, and you should have about the same clearance all the way around. I'm going to hook up the grinder now, and for safety glasses, we're going to put on a face shield. Normally we would have blanked all of this off with plastic bags and some cardboard so that the grinding elements don't end up in the engine, but for this demonstration I'm not going to be concerned about it. It takes about an hour to an hour and a half to properly blank off this engine. Normal air pressure, about 80 to 90 psi, is adequate for doing this job. So I'll set my grinder all the way out, and the swivel on here allows the hose to swivel, and I don't have to let it slip through my hands. So while I'm rocking here to start and then I'm going to go around and move the grinding wheel in. This concludes the demonstration on how to use the PT6 engine shroud grinder.